Okay, Kim. So in lots of other episodes, we've often talked about the present day and where you're at. Abundance is the word that you've chosen for your forthcoming album. And it's heavily linked to your music, but also something very personal to you. Do you think your life has reached abundance, or do you think there's more for us to see?
Well, can I just sort of correct you?
Okay. Yeah.
The album is not called Abundance. That's the subject matter of much of it.
Okay.
But the first album is not called that.
Oh.
It's
Where
called,
have I got that from?
It's called Awaken.
Awaken. Yes.
We are gods.
We awaken. We are gods.
Yeah. So that's the. But the abundance aspect does come through in some of the. Because these podcasts really, I've written a book called The Abundance Breakout. So really, that's where the abundance comes in. Very much so. So
in the past podcasts, we've talked about where that came from, and your links to the way your parents, the style in which your parents parented you. And I know we've talked about, and you can find in other episodes that we've talked quite deeply about your spirituality and where the abundance overlaps. So I'm just wondering, at your very young age, do you feel as though you've reached your peak? Are you at your most? Are you at your best? Are you at your optimum? Or is there more?
I think I've just started.
Oh, okay.
If I look back on my life in music, it's only really just begun. I've had the apprenticeship.
Okay.
But this is, what Joe and I have been doing for since September the 2nd, 2024. So nearly a year now. Is we've been working on some of the many songs that I've written. And it's my opportunity to do my own thing exactly as I want to do it. So, from musically, it's just beginning.
Okay.
I mean, I've got enough material to do another 10 albums. He's going to be an old man before we finish this.
I don't know whether Joe can hack anymore.
No, he probably can't. He probably needs a long break after this. But no, it's musically, I've only just really started. We're probably, if you were to sort of use the analogy of the gears in a car, we were certainly out of first gear, certainly out of second. We're probably in third now. Probably in third gear.
So the music and the work that you're working on at the moment, it sounds to me like it's feeding you. It's allowing you to grow.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the, you mentioned the spirituality. Yes, I mean, the music is very spiritual. But it's also about my own life experiences. You might call it my personal road to spirituality, so some of the earlier songs were less, shall we say, less spiritually complex.
Okay.
Than the ones I'm writing now. But we're in a situation where the world is changing at a rapid rate. And I've written a couple of songs in the last 2 weeks, just to try and keep up with what's going on. One of the big things that's really happened in a collective sense, i.e., people across the world, is that the level of consciousness, the level of vibration has risen dramatically. People are waking up to the reality that things are not right on this planet.
Okay.
The way we're being governed is certainly not helpful, and certainly not. Certainly, that we are suffering from a sense of lack, not a sense of abundance. And so creating the abundant life is something that I'm very much into at the moment because I see so little of it. Had we had a proper financial system, I think everybody in the world would be 10 to 20 times better off than they are now. But the financial system that we have steals our abundance, steals our wealth.
And is that an example of how you feel the present time we're in, that we're in like a financial crisis?
I don't think most people would even attempt to dispute that. I think that's pretty well known. I mean, we have a financial system that's based on debt. Money is issued as debt, but the big problem is that on that debt we pay interest. Now, but the money is not created to pay the interest.
Okay.
Now just think about that for a second. So what it means is we've got a PONZI scheme. So there will come a point where we're all paying so much in interest payments. I mean, let's take, for example, the students, in the US and this country, we have to take out massive loans to pay for their university education. It's 6% interest in the UK. I think it's 6% interest. They never pay it off. They're constantly paying it, but they can't get the capital down because they're paying the interest every year. So they'll come to a point when they won't be able to borrow anymore, take out a mortgage. And countries are in that state. We're at the point now where the debts are so big, the government deficits are so enormous that it's become totally unsustainable. And we are heading for a massive crisis. And it's imminent.
So, for the sake of the people watching, where do you get that information from? Because that's what you've said is a big statement, and I'm not disagreeing with it. But I'm just wondering where you get that statement, that information, that knowledge from.
Well, I mean, it's government statistics.
Okay.
It's all this information is available. If we look at let's go back to 2008 when we had the crisis then. The levels of debt are probably 2.5, 3 times greater now than they were then. And look what happened then. We are on the edge of a precipice in terms of debt levels, and there will come a point when people will say, "Well, look, I don't want to buy any government bonds." Even at 5%, 6%, 7%, I just don't trust them anymore. If that happens, if the government can't issue enough bonds to cover their debt, it collapses. The whole thing collapses.
And is that what you've been writing about recently?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I spent a lot of time in the past. I wrote a book called The Golden Age Economy back in, I think it was finished in 2012, which covered all of that. Prior to the 2008 crisis, I predicted all the things that were going to happen in 2008, but in 2004. And I actually set up a financial program for my clients because I was an independent financial advisor, because I foresaw what was going to happen, and they all did extremely well. When the markets were collapsing, their wealth was going up. They were paying virtually nothing in interest payments on mortgages and all these things I foresaw. But I actually have an extremely positive outlook on the future. Extremely positive. Because my feeling is that we are going to have a collapse of one sort or another. And then out of the ashes of that collapse will be born a new financial system which will be set up for the benefit of all people. And I'm thinking here of a gold-backed currency which cannot be manipulated. I think the idea of paying interest should be done away with. I mean, certainly in the Islamic religion they don't allow interest, and at one time it was banned in the Christian religion, but it found its way back again, and so I do believe that out of the wreckage of the current system, a new system will be born, which is highly beneficial to everybody. I think a way will be found to clear all the debts away.
And this comes from your interpretation of whatever you found on the internet, news channels, etc.
It comes from common sense, really. You know, I was a financial advisor for 20 years, and one of the jobs that I used to do was to try and help people reduce their outgoings, and usually mortgages and loans and credit card debts were you know, the biggest element of that. And so I would try and find ways of helping them to pay their debts off quickly, or more quickly. So it's something I have an enormous experience of. And I did economics at college. Not that was of any great use, but I did it nevertheless. I spend probably an hour a day looking at the financial news and what have you. So I'm fairly well versed on what's happening at the moment. But I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that we've got an indebtedness problem. Personally, individually, and collectively, and certainly governments. You know, it's a problem. It's a real problem, and it's coming to a head right now.
And when do you predict that might be?
Any day.
Okay.
I think we're talking months. But don't quote me on that.
No, we won't.
Even though it's on film.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
We never know. We never know. You know, you can't predict it. There'll be some black swan event that'll happen that
turns it all.
It changes it all, and then suddenly people wake up and think, "Crikey, we got a problem." Now, if you look at the last crash, 2008, it wasn't until the very last moment that people were prepared, literally the day before it all went south, before people were prepared to admit there was a problem. They didn't want to admit it. But there were one or two people that did see it coming, you know. So, very difficult to pinpoint, though. We just don't know.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago that you'd written a couple of songs in the last few days, last week or so, and am I right in thinking they were nothing to do with the financial crisis?
No, they were everything to do with all the positive future that we have.
Okay.
Because I think once people, you know, as I mentioned earlier, the consciousness of people is rising quite rapidly, as they're beginning to see that we actually live in a world of illusions. You know, it's not real. It's, you know.
But why do you think that's happening now?
Because of the darkness on the planet is getting stronger, and when I say that, I mean, what do I mean? The level of wickedness on the part, the level of corruption, the financial ineptitude on the part of government, the reduction in freedoms, this massive increase in censorship, and all these things are the increase in control of
So people are getting fed up, basically, of the way their lives have been dictated to or directed.
Absolutely. And I think people have had enough, and they're saying we've had enough. Enough is enough. And I think that's why people are waking up. You know, the water levels in the Titanic have reached a critical level.
Yeah.
And, so it's that. But I have to emphasise, really see a really great future, a really fantastic future, and a lot of the songs that I'm writing now are amplifying that belief.
Okay.
So I don't wish to be all doom and gloom. I spent enough time doing that in the past.
So on that note, what does your future look like? If you say you just started and it's looking positive.
Well, that's to a large extent in the lap of the lap of the gods. I do hope that people like the work that we've been doing, and even if they don't appreciate the messages, they might just like the music.
Yeah.
Because I think we've spent a lot of time trying to get that right, and so I am hopeful. I am hopeful that it will work. I said to my collaborator Joe when we first started, I said, the thing that we've got to get right, Joe, we've got to get the music really, it's got to be really, really strong. If we get that right, everything else will fall into place. So and I think we've achieved that. But that's my opinion,
Well, I've definitely heard some tracks, and the tracks that I've heard, I actually really did enjoy, and I could see how they would be of interest to other people.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I was surprised, if I'm honest.
Surprised?
Yeah, because I've heard some of your stuff from the past, and it was like, okay, it's not my cup of tea, so it was hard for me to appreciate it or to see, how it would look from the wider scale. But yeah, the ones I've listened probably this year or the last 6 months, I really like them. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, but don't take that, that's a compliment. There's a compliment in there somewhere. And what's nice is that all your songs are extremely personal, and they've usually all got a message, and they're all quite deep. But I like the fact that when you open up and find out what it's about, they are personal songs.
Well, I think any artist, whether they be writing books, whether they be writing songs or painting a picture, you have to. You can only work really from your experience. And we've all had love lives, I can say that, and some of them have worked and some of them haven't. And I think for a lot of people that write songs and write lyrics, about that, it's all down to experience.
A lot of the times, and I definitely, I will sing a song that's in my head that comes on the radio, and I'll sing it, and I might sing it verbatimly, but I haven't got a clue what it's about. I'm not really listening to the words, and sometimes they're about things that I wish I'd have known before I just sung them out loud, because they're not really very PC, or they're not very, some of the words are well chosen. But it's definitely made me more conscious of the words. And I think, some of that has come from, I've been working with you and looking at some of your lyrics and listening to the songs. And then obviously I was able to ask you direct questions. So it's definitely made me more aware of lyrics to a song and where it comes from. Because to me that matters, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that you raise, because I am almost deaf. If I didn't, wear hearing aids in both ears, and if I take them out, I can't hear myself talk, which may be a good idea. But I have to shout to myself, to hear myself. But I think with some music, you listen to the music, but you can't understand what the words are, and I certainly struggle, and. So there can be a tendency with some music to ignore the lyrics, but being a lyricist, I'm very keen to ensure that the words can be heard, because it's an important part of the music.
Yeah, because there's a very significant message in there.
But if they can't be heard, well, then we hope the music will carry it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you can combine the two. I think there's nothing more powerful than having music and words working together to reach people, because you can hit them at every level.
Yeah, because in some songs it's the music you hear before the words, and it'll either capture you or it won't. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you.